Football Manager fans have waited years for this franchise to evolve, but now, well, it might not evolve at all. The next game has been delayed, then cancelled, and recently, silence. Absolute radio silence from Sports Interactive. This isn't just a delay, it seems. It could be a warning sign. And today I feel like we really need to talk about what the hell is going on with Football Manager again. FM25 was being teased as the future of the franchise. New engine, new features, new UI. The biggest leap yet since Football Manager began. Now, after the initial hype of Football Manager 25, Sports Interactive came to us at the end of September confirming that the release date is going to be slightly moved instead of the beginning of November to the end of November. But this was fastly changed when we had this report here, which was on the 10th of October, stating that it was then going to be moved to the end of March. Just a couple of weeks after they told us it was going to be the end of November, it's now being moved until March 2025. But of course, we all know when the time came around when they mentioned in this blog that at the end of January, we would start to see something about Football Manager 25, because at this point, we've seen one or two screenshots of what the game could look like, no gameplay, no video footage of anything. We were then given this, and it was from a Sega sort of report, financial report. It wasn't even given to us by Football Manager or Sports Interactive itself. They then posted after, and it was the middle of the night in the UK time, that Sports Interactive regret to inform that the discussion from Sega is that they are going to shift their focus to the next release date, and they're going to fully cancel Football Manager 25. Now, this post itself was dated February the 7th, 2025, and again, it came at 8 in the morning off the back of that report. A lot of it speaks about the difficulties that they have found throughout the game, and I really do appreciate, and I cannot state this anymore, I appreciate that they don't want to release a half-assed game or a broken game, something that doesn't work. That would be even worse than cancelling the game itself. That I completely agree with on Football Manager's front, but that's not really why we're here today, because although I do really agree with that and it is the right decision, I really am a little bit concerned with other things. And we're going to take you back to 27th of June 2024. We're coming up now to a year since this development update of Football Manager 2025 or 25. They scrapped the 20 for some reason, don't know. I guess it's because of the new era that they're trying to bring in for Football Manager, make everything a little bit new. This was a blog post from Miles Jacobson, of course, who is sort of like the head of Sports Interactive. And in the very first sentence that was mentioned in this blog post, the reaction of the two development blogs we released last year showed how much you appreciated greater transparency from the studio. Again, from the studio development head itself, that's what was said. Now, here is the biggest irony bomb off of that. After that post, not a peep. Nothing. But I'll go back, and this is roughly a year ago, like May 17th. We are looking at Football Manager just as they were about to announce Football Manager 25. They were posting very frequently. Almost every other day, look, there's a new post. They're talking about Football Manager with the Bundesliga, dropping obviously Wonder Kids from Football Manager 2024, which, by the way, the best Football Manager game they've ever released, easily. Thank God, because we've been able to keep creating content based on a game that's 18 months old, and you guys are still loving it. Very grateful for the studio for that. But this is why I am concerned, because now we are going to roughly a year ago. We got Valentin Barco speaking about how it's great that he signed. You know, we're talking about this. Look how many times they are posting. And this, if you remember rightly, was off the back of this 27th of June, where they're talking about more transparency in the studio. They are talking a lot to their community, their customers, us, the people who buy the game. However, if we're going to go to present day, and the last post that they made, which was basically saying you can continue to play Football Manager 2024, so not really an update, just sort of signifying that. This is the last time they spoke to us, February the 7th, that they cancelled the game. There's nothing, no communication whatsoever. This is where we are getting concerned with. Absolute radio silent. And it's not just the creators, it's the customers as well, the people who just play the game, not content creators. It's everybody. Now, it didn't take me long. I just basically typed into Football Manager concerns of FM or Football Manager itself, and I found this Reddit post. Why is Sports Interactive still radio silent about FM26 from C Performance, who, as far as I know, is not a content creator, just a player of the game, and they go on to express their concerns about there being no communication whatsoever with the fan base, and this has a lot of up-likes on Reddit, and to be honest, I don't really use Reddit a lot, but 315 comments and 1,200 upvotes on this. That tells me it's quite a lot, to be fair. And there's a lot of people still talking about how they are also concerned with the game. And it also concerns me quite a lot. So why is this such a big deal? Now, you might agree with me, this is just my opinion, but Football Manager isn't just a game, it's kind of a ritual for the player base. This is a game that people will play every single day of the year. Especially for me, before I even started creating content, I reckon I played Football Manager every single day throughout the year, and I only really slowed off just before the new iteration of the game come out. And again, why I commend that it's not releasing a duff or a broken game, it's still incredibly worrying that Football Manager or Sports Interactive themselves, they're just disregarding what they said about being transparent last year, and instead of just being sort of like posting, hey, you know, we're really sorry that we had to cancel the game, but there's still a lot to be excited about. There's still a reason to be hyped about Football Manager. There isn't any of that at all. And I just genuinely, I really don't understand why they have chosen to be this quiet and this silent. And it's really concerning across all platforms. I've never really seen it from a studio like that, where it's kind of just like, oh, we're cancelling the game. And then after mentioning how they want to be transparent, just not saying anything. Sports Interactive's silence just kind of breaks a bit of trust between the developers and the fan base. They've mentioned how they were going to be transparent. Everybody was applauding that, and then they've just failed to be transparent at all, really. I mean, I guess saying that it's going to be cancelled and the reason why it's going to be cancelled is being kind of transparent, but they were sort of forced because of the Sega post to do so. And I understand there's a lot of licenses which sort of said they couldn't be transparent in certain situations. Again, I'm not stupid. I understand that they are going to be put into a bit of a corner with that. But at the same time, Football Manager formula is aging. There's a generation of players who are coming through who are used to better graphics, better, UIs on different football games, playing different games, mobile games. They all look better than what Football Manager 2024 is. And you can argue as much as you like. I'm not really bothered about why Football Manager doesn't need upgrading. In my opinion, it's a great thing for it to be upgraded because there's a new generation of players that can then enjoy the game, and the only reason why they weren't enjoying the game before is because they looked at it and thought, that game looks awful. And you can say, well, I play it, but I don't really care about the graphics. That's fine. But at the same time, as a company, Football Manager want as many players as they possibly can play in the game. And recently, obviously, they've had record-breaking years, and it's still been fantastic. But we are getting into we're in 2025. You can't really have a game that looks that bad on a PC game and really expect new players to keep flooding in to play your game. Now, I'll go back to this post that they made, which was the 27th of the 6th, last year, 2024, where they mentioned the transparency, and they spoke about FM25, or what would be called Football Manager 25, the next era. This was supposed to be the best thing that's ever happened to Football Manager. A brand new match engine, a brand new UI, a new UI for a new era. All of these new and interesting ways to play Football Manager. This was supposed to be the light at the end of the tunnel for everybody who said that Football Manager needed an upgrade. This could have been the difference of Football Manager having a brand new generation of players come through that are sick of, EAFC's career mode and want to play something a little bit more detailed, but they've never picked up Football Manager because they've seen how bad the graphics are. This was supposed to be the guiding light. And I feel like now that this has been cancelled, that was a problem, but having just complete radio silence, the hype has now died for any new iteration of Football Manager 2025 or 26. Now, here is my biggest worry. We are at the beginning of June 2025, and roughly we should be expecting some news about a Football Manager 2026 coming really soon. However, from previous examples that I shown you just a minute ago, Football Manager were talking a lot in the lead up to the announcement of Football Manager 25. They were building silent hype, if I'd like to call it, because they were getting interactions on Twitter, on social media, by sort of saying, and there was TikTok videos as well. Oh, who was your favorite Wonder Kids of this year? Blah, blah, blah. Working with different pages and stuff. Posting a lot about Football Manager 24 just before the announcement of FM25. And again, just to show you what I mean, May 14th, 2024, they're posting about Football Manager 24. They're still posting about it. They've got Xbox talking about it. They're talking about Wonder Kids on the game, Nippon. They are talking a lot about Football Manager. The posts, some of them might not get a lot of interaction itself, but they are still active on social media. And this is just Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now. They were doing TikTok videos, they were doing posts on Facebook, all across social media for the eventual hype of what they were hoping to be the biggest announcement with Football Manager 25. And as you can see, it was going on for a month before. We have gone past over a year from a lot of those posts. This is, when I'm recording this, the 4th of June. To get to the 4th of June, we are roughly here. They were posting about it here, and look how long I can scroll back while they were posting almost every single day about the previous Football Manager. And it's the reason why you kind of do that as somebody in social media. You kind of have like a baseline. Like if you were to just go completely silent for ages, then post, you're probably not going to get as much hype in some kind of algorithm that you would hope to. You want to build up silent hype. You want to be posting and be active, because social media platforms, they see that. They post, when you post more, social media platforms kind of help you out in a way. It's kind of encouraged to do so. If you want your post to be seen by a lot, like the more you post, the more likely you are to get good traction and good reaction. So when you really have something very important you want to post about, boom, you're already in some kind of algorithm. People are already interacting with, and especially with something like X. If I interact with an X page or a Twitter page every now and then, even though I don't follow them, if they post again, it's more likely to appear on my For You page. And Football Manager knows that. Sports Interactive knows that. So the complete lack of posts like this year compared to last year is really concerning me now. Because again, it's still radio silent. We are going on 3 months since basically a poster tour, which was just talking about how you can still play Football Manager. And we are over 4 months now, or we'll be in a couple of days' time, since they posted that Football Manager 25 will be completely cancelled. After not talking about Football Manager 25 basically since the December before that. Even though that they said in a previous post where they mentioned transparency that they will be posting features and gameplay at the end of January talking about the new Football Manager. Obviously, we know the reason why they didn't do that, but the complete lack of posts going on right now is a serious concern of probably not just me, but maybe a lot of players, and maybe you haven't really thought about it, and maybe you completely disagree, and that's fine. I'm open to discussion in the comments. Just don't be a knob about it. Like, we're all just wanting a game to play, and we just want it to be good. But this is my biggest concern right now. And yeah, the development updates that we got a year ago, the 27th of the 6th, saying that there was supposed to be a lot of transparency. There's been no transparency. And here's another example of why I am very concerned. Because recently you might have seen the post, and there's a couple of other creators who have done videos about it. I didn't, but I am still in the same kind of thought process of what they are also thinking, because on the 2nd of June, which was a few days before this was recorded, Sega announced Football Club Champions, which is a free-to-play game where you can apply for the beta. You can sign up for that. It is being powered by Football Manager, but there's no posts from Football Manager who sort of say that they're going to be doing that. Sega has, Sports Interactive and Football Manager haven't. They've, again, just stayed quiet. What needs to happen now, then? What is going to be the solution going forward for Sports Interactive and Football Manager? How do they regain hype if there is going to be a Football Manager 26? Because I feel like this is the main crux of this. I don't want this to be a video of bashing Sports Interactive and Football Manager, as much as I disagree with their methods of not being transparent at all, or just going completely radio silent. I still want the game to come out this year, and I still want it to be amazing, and I want it to be the biggest game ever. So how are Football Manager and Sports Interactive going to rebuild that hype and kind of gain the trust back of not only myself, but everybody else who wants the game to come out and possibly make it a game that new players want to play? Well, to begin with, Football Manager fans don't need a release date right away. I think that's the problem with maybe Sports Interactive. They're thinking in their head, oh, we keep giving them release dates and then we keep failing to do that. Don't worry about giving us release dates. Just let us know you're still alive. Just let us know you're still working on a game. That's all we really care about right now. Now, I have been very vocal that I have never been a fan of how Football Manager ever sort of hype their games up. Again, I'll go back to the development update of last year's when they were announcing the biggest change ever in Football Manager 25. It was a 2,000+ word blog post. It's not a video showing you what the game could look like. It's just very work in progress screenshots, as you can see here, which doesn't really show you anything, to be honest. And actually, doesn't really look that impressive. Let's be completely honest. I mean, I don't think anybody was really overwhelmed by what they seen in this. This was supposed to be the hype of their biggest change ever. A 2,000-word blog post with some really unappealing, screenshots. And I understand Football Manager is not exactly an aesthetically pleasing game anyway. It's referred to as the spreadsheet game, and that's fine, but that was the whole reason to create to use a new graphics engine in the first place, to make the game look more appealing. So to go down the blog route of 2,000-word blog route is not really the way to go. And I think that needs to be put in the past as well. You want to have a new sort of update and a new, wow, this game looks amazing, to hype a brand new game. This stuff here needs to stop. Now, I understand it costs a lot of money to do something like this, but EAFC didn't exactly use gameplay footage to announce their new 2025 game. They used basically just some really good graphics to sort of introduce the game itself. Players of the game then didn't complain that the game itself wasn't looking as crisp and clean as this. You can still see that it's a game and it's going to be good. But the fact that they've built a story around the trailer itself to announce that there was an EAFC 25, I commend that. In comparison to a 2,000-word update. There was a post that basically said about women's football, and all it had was the manager of Football Manager change from a male to a female. I had to go find it to remember that it was still a thing, because I don't know whether my head was messing around me, but this was genuinely it. It's a 7-second video, and the only thing that really changes in it is 3 sort of icons, and one of them changes to a female manager. Which doesn't even suggest that there is going to be women's football on the game. But then the title introduces women's football to the series. So the actual stuff in behind it, you can see, is still male football. I don't think that changes to female players. But they couldn't even be bothered to change that to female players. I think that one there looks like a female. That's about it. All they actually change is the manager itself. And that's to announce that there's going to be women's football on the game. And again, I get so frustrated with things like this, because the difference that you can get in sort of a good trailer to something like that can be the difference of a game having the most unbelievable hype and introducing a new player base to the game to go, what, that trailer looked really good. I'm interested in the game. Give me one person who is 25 and younger who's seen that dev blog of 2,000 words and go, whoa, never played Football Manager before, but that sounds good. So going back to what I think needs to happen, they need to start interacting again with their fan base, with their customers on social media before anything is going to be hyped. I would even make a joke out of it. Say, make a joke that you've been radio silent for so long. Make a joke out of it, because if you just choose to ignore it, it makes the situation worse. come back with a tweet that's very ironic, saying that you've been away for ages. You know, I don't care whether you put Miles on holiday, smoking a cigar on a beach and, you know, make a joke out of it that way. I'd rather it be on the nose than just completely ignored. Then you can start building hype about, oh, Football Manager's back. That must mean that there is a new game coming. Before you are eventually in a position where you can start showing us, not telling us, what is happening next. And by that, no blog post, but by that, have something there to show us that we can see and we can go, yes. It doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be gameplay footage, but please make it a little bit more interesting than a 7-second video of just 2 things on a screen changing, and have something more interesting that we can feed off of and please get a little bit of hype off of. That's where I really feel like Football Manager goes down the wrong path every time a new game is announced, and that's how I feel like they are going to gain our trust back. They need that hype, and they need to do it by being different to what they have done in the past. For the last time, I'm not just outright bashing Football Manager or Sports Interactive as the studio. They've given me years and years of unbelievable happiness for a game. They've obviously helped me create a career around their game, and if Football Manager 26 doesn't come out, I should still be able to plod along with the most amazing Football Manager game they've ever released in FM24 and still create content for everybody. So again, this isn't a cry for please do something for the sake of my career, for everybody who's gonna be knobheads in the comments again about that. This isn't about that. I want the new game to come out because we all want a new upgraded version of Football Manager. But I really feel like the clock is ticking from when you ultimately have no hype and no trust in Football Manager to never being able to claw that trust back. The clock is ticking in my eyes, and if they're standing on the edge of a cliff in a way, if Football Manager and Sports Interactive doesn't speak soon, then it kind of speaks volumes that we might not see an FM26 this year. And the fact that a year ago, or just less than a year ago, they were talking about the need for transparency and how much they realized the fan transparency was necessary, to then just kind of outright ignore that for a long time, I don't know. That doesn't sit right with me. That's the thing that bothers me the most. And then that whole Sega post about using Football Manager and for a different game, and then there's also posts about, I don't know, they're creating some kind of statistics for actual football instead of just focusing on the game. All of these, and I didn't even mention that in the video, all of these things are really concerning right now. This is where I'm at. What do you guys think? Do you think FM26 is coming? Or are we watching the end of Football Manager as we know it?